What is the muscle that is the most used for running? Well, luckily, researchers have planted electrodes on runners running at different speeds and at different levels of athleticism, and they've answered this question for us. Or have they? Yeah, they have. They pretty much have. Salut, c'est Safe Motions. We're pretty sure that running uses mostly the legs. So for the sake of this video, we're gonna stick with that. That means we'll leave the pelvis for another video. And I know there's other factors to look at, but to simplify, I think it's safe to assume that the muscle that carries the most load during the running is the muscle that we need to focus on. The one that's the most important and probably the one that we need to train the most. Now, while you're guessing in the comments which of the muscle is actually taking the most load when you run, let's have a look at the contribution of all the other muscles. There might be some surprising facts in there. Now let's start with the quadriceps. There's no surprise there. We know it's used a lot in running. It's that big, thick set of muscles in front of your thigh. During your run, it has to carry at its peak roughly 2 times your body weight. This happens, and it makes sense, as your foot touches the floor and all the way until your foot takes off. That phase is called the stance phase. Quite a bit of work from the quadriceps. Well done, quads. So what about the glute maximus, the really large muscles of the bum? Well, at its peak, it needs to lift up to 2.5 times the body weight, more than the quads. But at least for me, surprisingly, not that much. If you look at the calf, for example, the gastrocnemius has to carry up to 4 times your body weight. The gastrocnemius is that really thick, fleshy part of your calf that's pushing you off of the floor. But much more important than that, the glute medius carries at its peak up to 4.5 times your body weight. Its role is to stabilize the pelvis to prevent dropping one side when you're standing on one leg. The hamstring muscle, we all know that, is really important in running, but its role is really interesting. At its peak, it has to carry 5 times our body weight, and its purpose is not to kick the heel back up after push-off. Its purpose is thought to be decelerating the straightening of the leg right before your foot touches the floor. That's where it contracts the most. And after that, during the stance phase, it also stabilizes the leg. So now, of all of these muscles, we're left with, drum roll, the soleus muscle. That's the second part of the calf muscle, the really deep layer closer to the bones. We don't really see it from the outside, but its contribution is huge, up to 7.5 times your body weight, with also a very interesting way of contributing to the running. Quite surprising to me. What do you think it's there for? Its purpose is to prevent you from falling forward as your foot is on the floor and your body's trying to drive towards the front. The whole of your body weight is leaning forward and projecting towards the floor. And that soleus muscle is there to stabilize you. But of course, as part of the calf muscle, it also helps to push you off of the floor. So there you have it. The muscle that works the most in your running is the soleus muscle, part of your calf muscles. And it's very, very important to note that that's a muscle that will atrophy very quickly as you age. And that can explain why we see elderly mostly shuffle when they run instead of taking big steps. That's just because their calves become weak. I do want you to note that all the above data, that's for distance running. If you're a sprinter, the faster you run, the more your hip flexors will contribute to your run, up to the point that it will even surpass the loading of your soleus muscles. And it makes sense. The faster you want to run, the more you need to drive your knee forwards, and that's using your hip flexors. Knee drive, knee drive, knee drive. Most neglected technical part of running in distance runners. So what do you think? Tell me in the comments. How much do you train your soleus muscles? Our next video is about exercises to train your soleus muscles. So subscribe so you don't miss it. Click on the like button if you like this video. One thing I wish they had studied a bit more is the contribution of the muscles of the foot into running. If you know about some research out there about the foot muscles and running, please send over my way. I'll see you soon. À bientôt.